For decades, Earth played by the rules. We attended the councils, signed the treaties, and followed the diplomatic games of a galaxy that prided itself on order. But when an entire civilization, 12 million Illyrians, was wiped out in a brutal, calculated genocide, the galaxy responded with silence. No sanctions, no intervention, just the cold shrug of bureaucracy. Earth had seen this before, in our own blood-soaked history, and this time, we knew what it meant. They thought we were too civilized to fight back. But something changed that day. It wasn't just grief. It wasn't even anger. It was a collective realization that being civilized in a galaxy that tolerates mass murder means being complicit. And for the first time in centuries, Earth made a different choice. No more speeches, no more diplomacy. This time, we didn't send a delegation. We sent the fleet. A galaxy numb to atrocity. For centuries, humanity had been the latecomer to the galactic stage. We weren't the first to discover faster-than-light travel, nor the most technologically advanced. But we arrived with a fire others didn't understand, a memory of our scars, our triumphs, and most importantly, our deep and painful history. By the time Earth joined the Interstellar Council, the galaxy had long prided itself on its structured, measured diplomacy. Thousands of species, governed by bureaucratic councils and multi-layered treaties, managed peace not through empathy, but through balance. If one planet suffered, another might be compensated. If a war broke out, it was often resolved by cold negotiations, not justice. Then came Illyria. Illyria was a planet of artists, scientists, and pacifists. Its people had no military and little need for one. Nestled in a stable region of space, they contributed to galactic culture through innovation, language, and medicine. Earth had always shared a quiet affinity with Illyria. It reminded us of our ideals, of what civilization could look like if we kept war at bay. But peace, as humanity well knew, is never permanent. In 2239, the Illyrians became the target of the Varkari coalition, a conglomerate of aggressive militarized systems with ambitions cloaked in excuses, resource rights, territory claims, alleged subversion. The truth was simpler. Illyria was unguarded. And in a galaxy that prized order over morality, vulnerability was an invitation. When the first reports reached the Interstellar Council, entire Illyrian cities reduced to ash, communications severed, civilians vanishing, Earth's delegates pleaded for action. But weeks passed. Then months. Committees were formed, investigations requested. And still, the death toll mounted. No intervention, no embargo, no rescue mission. The genocide continued, and the Council did nothing. Humanity remembers for Earth. The word genocide carried a heavy weight. We had lived through the Holocaust, Rwanda, Cambodia, Bosnia, and more. Our museums didn't just preserve history, they preserved our promise. Never again. But what did never again mean? When the victims were no longer human? That question shattered the idealism of Earth's people. Social media erupted. News outlets broadcast images of Illyrian children starving in refugee camps, of mass graves under foreign skies. Activists marched through the streets of every major Earth city. The phrase, "not on our watch," trended for 92 consecutive days. The global response was unlike anything seen since the early 21st century. For once, nations put aside their disputes. Russia, China, the United States, India, Brazil, all united under the Earth Defense Charter, a document that would become the foundation for Operation Silent Vow. It wasn't just an alliance, it was a declaration, a statement that civilization meant more than bureaucracy, that if the galaxy would not act, Earth would. In secret, fleets were mobilized. AI-assisted logistics calculated exact response strategies. Human intelligence teams gathered first-hand accounts from the few survivors who escaped. The brutality was worse than feared. Forced labor camps, organ harvesting, biological experiments. The Varkari hadn't just committed genocide, they had turned it into an industry. The final push came when an intercepted Varkari transmission joked about how The humans would probably hold a candlelight vigil while they conquered another. Illyrian City, they were wrong. Operation Silent Vow in early 2240. Without warning, Earth's unified fleet entered the Illyrian sector. The move was deemed illegal by the Council. The coalition called it an act of aggression, but Earth didn't wait for approval. Their forces moved with surgical precision. Civilian targets were strictly avoided. The Varkari military installations, however, were decimated in hours. Earth stealth destroyers, equipped with gravitic silencers and AI-guided rail cannons, left no trace until the dust had already settled. Over 62 kilos. Varkari command outposts were neutralized in less than 48 hours. Drone footage later showed Varkari generals surrendering, some without resistance. They had underestimated humans, not just our strength, but our willingness to act outside the rules when the rules protected murderers. The final stage of the operation was not about revenge. It was about remembrance. At every liberated camp, Earth Marines planted a steel marker, etched with names of the victims and a message in both human and Illyrian script. To those who cried and were not heard, we listened. The Galactic Debate. The Interstellar Council erupted in outrage. Member states decried Earth's actions as a breach of interstellar law. Sanctions were threatened. Trade restrictions proposed. A formal trial was scheduled. But Earth's ambassador, a war historian named Dr. Aisha Marin, didn't plead for leniency. She stood before the council, stone-faced, and delivered one of the most quoted speeches in galactic history. You call yourselves civilized. Civilization without conscience is a machine. We are not machines. We are human. And humanity remembers. The chamber was silent. For once, the Varkari delegate said nothing. Earth didn't back down. Instead, we published evidence of the genocide. Verified, cross-referenced, undeniable. The response shocked the galaxy. Neutral systems turned against the Varkari. Trade collapsed. Their empire crumbled within months. Earth's actions sparked a reckoning. For the first time, the Council created an independent war crimes tribunal. Amnesty was stripped from hundreds of previously protected leaders. The definition of genocide, once vague in interstellar law, was rewritten, with Earth's guidance. A new standard in. The years that followed, Earth's role in the galaxy changed. No longer the idealistic newcomers, we became the conscience of the stars. And sometimes it soared. But we didn't expand territory. We didn't build colonies on the ruins of others. Instead, we rebuilt Illyria. Human engineers helped reconstruct homes, universities, and public gardens. Artists returned. Children were born. For the first time in a generation, Illyria dreamed again. Back home, debate never stopped. Some feared Earth had become too powerful, too willing to break interstellar law. Others argued it was a dangerous precedent. What if other planets followed suit? But a quiet majority understood. Earth hadn't acted out of pride or conquest. It had acted out of pain, out of memory, out of a vow made long ago, when the world said, never again. And this time, we meant it. Epilogue. The price of civilization is not measured by how advanced your ships are or how many treaties you sign. It's measured by what you're willing to tolerate and what you're willing to stop. The Varkari genocide was a test of the galaxy's soul. Most failed, but Earth passed, not with perfection, but with conviction. And in that moment, we stopped being just another species. We became something else, something feared, something respected, something remembered. Because when Earth stood up and said, now we stop being civilized, the stars finally understood. Civilization without justice isn't civilization at all.